Hey, what's up everyone? Right now I'm gonna go through some of the things that I did right when I got the S5 to set it up for cinematic video shooting. There's a few things that are pretty helpful when it comes to shooting video that you might want to take care of right away, even before you start going out to the backyard and start, shooting video of your cat walking through the tall grass. I may or may not have done that. But if you're new here, my name is Caleb and I've been doing freelance video production since 2012, but this channel is to help you make your own videos, whether you just started or you've been making them for a while, whether you use the GH5, S5, or any other camera. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, like I said, I'm just gonna go real quick through the menu and take care of some of those things like right off the bat that you wanna do when you first open up your Lumix S5. All right, so the very first thing that I did when I got to the menu is I went and did my photo style. And so when you go through these photo styles, you're gonna want to set up some of these different settings on here. And so here's what I have for the natural color profile. And it just goes down here to the sharpness, -5. So you have contrast -2. I did not do anything with the highlights or the shadow. I just left those at 0. And then the saturation -1, the hue -1, and the sharpness at -5. Noise reduction I left at 0. Then when you go into some of these other color profiles, there's really not a whole lot of changes that I'm gonna make. So like D, I'd probably take that contrast down to -1, saturation down to -1, and then the sharpness down to -5. For vlog, you're not gonna have any opportunity to change anything. They're set in stone, and the nice thing about the S5 is that it is a full log profile, unlike the GH5, which is a light version of the log profile. All right, so I'm just gonna go back to natural on here. That way it is set. I like shooting in natural quite a bit. The next thing that I'm gonna do is actually go down here to the SS gain operation. Now, out of box is probably gonna come as SEC ISO, and that is gonna be your shutter speed. But the nice thing about these Lumix cameras is that you can actually set a shutter angle. And so anytime, whatever frame rate you're shooting at, your shutter speed's always gonna be double that frame rate. So having that angle in there is gonna be beneficial when shooting video with the Lumix S5. So set that to the angle ISO and it'll show the shutter angle as 180 and it'll always be double whatever frame rate you're shooting. The next thing that we're gonna do is go down to this third option and the record quality. You can set that to whatever you prefer shooting in. If you're shooting log or HLG, you'll probably wanna be in a 10-bit color space. 10-bit 422. If you're shooting natural or a standard profile, 8 bits probably going to be fine. Even something like D is probably going to be fine in an 8-bit, but the log profile, you're going to want to make sure that you are in a 10-bit 422 color space. The next thing that I did, you don't have to do this, but it might limit your options. The one thing I did is set my record file format, oops, there we go, to MOV. Best for creating still pictures from video or shooting video to be edited later. I did notice with the MP4 that it had a little bit fewer record options up here. So you actually are limited in the MP4 space compared to the MOV. And then you have to proceed with that. There it is. You actually have that 10-bit color space and Cinema 4K options when shooting video. All right, another thing that we're gonna do right off the bat is we're gonna set focus peaking. Let's set focus peaking. Focus peaking sensitivity, you can set that, set the color to whatever color that you would want. Bunch of different options there, but you play around with that focus peaking and see where you want it and what works best for you in those situations. But you're gonna want that on. All right, the next thing that we're gonna do is go up here to this next option and all the way to the top. And we're gonna set the ISO increments into third increments. That way you have just a little bit more control over those ISO settings and you can really dial it in to where you need it to be. And the nice thing about the S5 is the full frame. You can get a lot more light on that sensor, and it works a little bit better in low light than it does on the GH5. Now, I did not really mess a whole lot with any of these autofocus settings or anything like that. I just kind of shuffle right through those to get to some of the display settings, which are right here, like histogram, if you want to put that on the screen. Usually on the GH5, I have that right on the screen, so I can kind of see if I have a balanced image or not. I have not put it on the S5 because I've primarily been using the zebra stripes to expose to the right. I found that that has been very helpful on here to get a correct exposure. So I just kind of keep going through these settings, and this is kind of where I want to be. Like I said, the zebra pattern right here is where you can go in and set your different zebra stripe patterns. So you're going to want to make sure that if you're shooting in like natural, these are probably the settings that you're going to want to be at. 95 for like an overall image, 75 for skin tones. That's going to change for vlog. So you're going to want to make sure that you are able to kind of dial those zebra stripes in depending on the color profile that you're shooting. Now, another option, which I love, is so comparable to the GH5, is having that waveform and vector scope that you can toss right on the screen. And that might be something that you'd want to set up a shortcut on some of your knobs on the S5 to make sure that you have direct access to the waveform so that you can really dial in your exposure, especially if you're shooting like, you know, like an interview or something along those lines. You're going to want to make sure that you can dial in where your exposure needs to be. And the waveform is a great tool to do that. So if you're recording out to Atomos Ninja 5 and able to record 6K ProRes RAW, this is kind of where you'd be in this area right here, where I am not recording right now to the Atomos Ninja 5, so I'm not going to mess with that at this point. And that's really all I have for setting up your S5, Lumix S5, right out of the box. Set it up for some cinematic video shooting so that you can head to the backyard now and shoot some video of your cat walking through the flowers, and maybe, you know, some bumblebees, that type of thing, whatever you're into filming. Now you can go out there and get some great video quality. So if you have anything that you would add to this video, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear them and love to get a conversation started. That's all I have for this video. It'd be awesome if you stuck around, maybe watch one of these videos that's popping up on your screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Lighten this up a little bit. Peter.